Okay.
Let's get started. Awesome. Today is probably my favorite day of this whole comic book because we get to do lettering. And I love lettering. So lettering is basically all the words in a comic book, but it also includes the speech bubbles and the thought bubbles, any of those little balloons, and any sound effects. So you can see in this comic of Dennis the Menace, like this is lettering because he had like this fancy sound effect, but also this is lettering down here, you know, the regular type of the comic book. And I didn't know this before. I never noticed this in a comic book, but when you are writing words in a comic book, like in a speech bubble, they are always capitalized. Do you guys see that? Like every single letter is capitalized. And I learned that that's because when they had to make, like comic books kind of get kind of small. Do you see how small that those words are in those speech bubbles? It's easier to read when they're all in capital letters. Okay, so that's one thing to keep in mind. Maybe practice writing all your letters in capital letters. So yeah, here's parts of our comic script. Here's like a sound effect. So sound effects are usually written in a fancy type of lettering, and they really like evoke the feeling of the sound effect. And then it also includes the borders of your panels and of your speech and thought bubbles. They can change depending on the mood. So, kind of important. And it's really fun because you can really get creative with your lettering. And so we are going to learn how to do some of this lettering here. You guys see the page? Just have like kind of like a sample of all the cool lettering in comic books. And then this comic book lettering at the top, it's all like caps lock. It's all uppercase letters. So to get started, I'm going to use a marker, but you can use a pencil so that you can erase. All right, and I'm going to show you a couple different ways to do your lettering, but I want you to explore today and kind of just have fun, like coming up with your own styles of lettering and maybe thinking about your comic book and what parts of your story are going to need some sound effects, and start practicing some lettering for those sound effects in your comic book. Okay? So I'm gonna use, maybe I'll use, it's a little thicker. Okay, and we're going to learn just how to do some like bubble letters. Let me see if I can get this closer. Okay. So if I wanted to do, I'm going to start with an easy letter, like the letter T, maybe. Okay, so when we're doing bubble letters, usually like our letter is like that in caps lock or uppercase. But when we're doing bubble lettering, we have to make this space in between those lines. So do you see how I made like this space here? Like it's a rectangle. So there's an area. I'll turn it around. So this is how we would normally write. But when we write like with a bubble letter, it has that space. And the reason why we do that is because some letters, like the letter O,
always be
we can we can do like that. Okay, and we can do like a circle on the inside. Or like the letter B, I would leave a lot of space so that then I can make these little circles on the inside. Okay, like that. All right, so that's really great. And sometimes some letters are tricky. The trickiest one is N, I think, because this one goes down straight, but then this, actually S is pretty tricky too. This one goes at an angle and then straight and straight. And that's because this one is also going to go at an angle. So you can kind of see that. So N's you might have to practice a little. Okay, and then S's as well. S is a little tricky because it's a curve all the way around. And the top part, okay, this is going to be on the outside. But then once you come down here, it's kind of on the inside. So you kind of have to make this a little smaller. So at first, it looks really funky. Like it doesn't look like it's going to be right. But once you make the other side of it, it turns out fine. You see that? So S's are kind of tricky because you have to kind of think this is on the outside, but then this part is on the inside. So it looks like a really funny S at first. Do you see how this is really wide and this isn't? This is really narrow.
Sometimes I just write the letter and then make an outside of it, and then it makes the letter. Like
yeah,
the letter bigger.
That is a really good way to do it too. Kind of like our stick figures. So you can definitely write an S like normal and then go around it kind of like we did with our stick figures. Like that. And if you did it in pencil, you could just erase this middle line. So that's great, Crocker. You can definitely do that way too. I think those are the hardest letters, N and S. Okay, so now once you know how to do these letters, you can really start to manipulate them in really fun ways. Like you can make all these hard edges round edges. Okay, like my T, it looks different now than that. Or kind of like creepy letters. You can start to make them all like wiggly. Wiggle your pen the whole way. Okay, to kind of make it look creepy or something. Or they even, on some of these, they even have like drips coming down.
It doesn't succeed.
How it's kind of like it's melting or something. You can play around with it. And then like you can do like electric ones. Like this T is all electrified now. Or you can do like cloud shapes. This tree is like more like a cloud shape. Okay, so you can play around with your letters once you give them some space in the middle. And you have lots of examples throughout all these comics. And one other thing I love about lettering in comic books is because you have all these like little lines. So like say I wanted to write the word pow. And I like overlapping my letters a little too. They kind of look like they're in front of each other or behind each other. Okay, so then I can like have these little design lines is also part of the lettering. Okay. And I've also noticed that a lot of times they'll have like little stars. You can put little stars, and like sometimes if well, I didn't know if you could see what I was doing. There's like pow with all those little lines and stars coming out. So I would do it in pencil so that you can erase and move things around if you want. And it's also fun to like play with the sizes. So say I do BAM, I can do my B really big and my A really small. And then maybe my M big again. Let's see. You guys see how you can make different sizes put together. Okay. And one other thing I wanted to show you is how to make like 3D letters. So Superman, comes to mind. His name and Superman is always like 3D. Make it look like it's popping out at you. And that's a super fun thing to do. So I'm going to do the word, like we'll do maybe, maybe we'll just start with the letter. So I'm going to do A, the letter A. Okay, so here's my bubble letter A. Okay, and I can do this a couple ways. I can draw one A, and then I can draw another A that's slightly off from my first A. Okay, do you guys see that now I have two A's that are kind of a little offset. The second one's a little further down and over. And I drew it in pencil because I'm going to erase that A. So then what I would do is I would start outlining the parts that don't overlap.
Oh, just like a 3D shape.
Yeah. So, and then I would, you can see how I just drew the bottom and connected the corners with the other corner. Okay, so I just drew a line from the edge of one to the edge of another. Now I'm going to erase that A. And you can see that now it has become like 3D. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, so that's an easy way to do it. Like, let's try an O. Let's try something with a circular shape. Okay, so we have one O, and then in my pencil, you can do both of these in pencil actually. I'm going to do my other O. And when it's like a curve shape, I'm just going to connect them kind of at the edges. Okay. So I'm going to okay, and I just drew the inside corner of that and the outside corner of that. And any part of my letter that's overlapping the other one, I don't color in. And then I erase it. And now I have a 3D O. Okay, and then let's see, let's try like an E maybe. Okay, so there's one E. And I have been doing this for a long time. My sister and I used to sit and do lettering all the time. We loved lettering as kids. So if yours doesn't come out the first time looking perfect, don't worry about it. I've had lots of practice. Okay, so all the areas of the second E that are on the outside, like this part and this part and this edge, I'm going to go over in my marker. Any part that's on the inside of my E, I'm not going to go over it. And I'm going to erase my E so you can kind of see it a little bit better. Okay, so that's what I have so far. So now I need to just draw a little line to connect them right there. You guys see that? Now it looks, oh, and I have to draw these little lines here too. Now it looks like a 3D. Kind of cool, huh? Okay, and if you don't like drawing two over the top of each other, if it makes it confusing, you can also just do the same principle and just start drawing the edge like that. So I just drew my F and I just drew these little lines because I knew where they would go. So after a while, you can just kind of guess where they're going to go. Let's try a hard one like an S. So remember, this part's going to be big and that part's going to be little. Okay. And then I'm going to go back around. big and
Kayla's finally able to join us, Jess. She's been having trouble getting on, so she's connecting right now.
who is it?
Michaela, do you remember?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Michaela, we're working on lettering.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, Michaela, you might have already experimented with lettering. We're just working on making some like 3D letters
Okay.
right now. So then all the parts that lay outside of my other S, I'm going to draw. And all the parts on the inside of my S, I'm just going to erase and not draw. And you can see my 3D S. So that one's probably going to take some practice. But that's a really fun way to do some lettering, especially for your like cover. That would be awesome to do your title and something like big and bold like that. But really get creative with it. A lot of comic book letters have like little dots on the inside. So you could make dots all over it, or you can make a line, make any kind of pattern on the inside of your letter.
And you see how the account number is the same as the inpatient, so that one's going to be ED. I'm going to go highlight the green part of that, and go to
See that F with all the little dots? You can do like lines.
So their observations, so that they were.
Lines in your letters like that. Or you could even do like glare lines. Look at my O there. To kind of make it look like it's glossy or something. Another thing you can do, let's do like an L, is you could do like a double outline. You can just outline my L, another line, like that. And I could like color the inside differently than the outside. There's really endless possibilities. I could even, let's do like an H. I can even make like a hollow letter and just make this line a little extra thick. And just leave the inside hollow. I can not color it in. Maybe I can see my background through this letter. Like that. So you can make your borders really thick. There's a word in this Popeye comic that's really cool. It says crash, but I'll just do like one letter out of it. And I'm just going to trace it in my pencil first. And the whole letter, nothing's outlined. It's just made up with lines, the whole thing, that kind of fill in that space. I really like that look. And then I'm going to erase my outline. And you can still tell that's an R even though it's not outlined. Okay. Wow, look at that! Amazing! That's so good, Rocker.
I love that.
I tried to do it exactly like the one on the paper.
Yes, like Crash. Awesome. It looks perfect. And that's one thing I love about yours is you have this little burst balloon behind it. Remember we learned about burst balloons, and they kind of represent when something is really loud. You can make like a burst balloon and then put your lettering on the inside.
I don't know where I that.
Let's see. I'm gonna do bang. Yeah, just play around, have fun. Think about which sound effects your comic might have and start playing around with different lettering techniques for that. And you can use your thicker marker to go over things to make your lines thicker too.
You can see, look. It's a spider. It's a giant spider on the candy.
How you guys doing?
Good.
Good. Are you having fun?
Yeah.
Good. This is a fun part of your comics, is doing all the lettering for it. And usually when you're a professional comic book maker, you actually hire someone to do all the lettering for you. Usually there's a person that does it that's called a letterer. But we are going to be masters at both of them. You don't have to hire anyone.
It's Mr. Different thing. I don't know why I said that. It's Mr. Different.
Okay, and then you guys can color it in there too.
Miss Jess,
Yes, ma'am.
can we use the Sharpie so we could like color it some?
Yes, use the Sharpie to outline it once you're done. That's also part of the lettering too, is outlining everything. So if you've noticed in a comic book, everything has a border on it. So the borders are not just around the panels and the balloons and stuff, but it's also around your characters. Everything is outlined. I don't know if you can see it, like everything is outlined. So that's really important in comics, is to have a border on everything.
And in the like actual industry, it's called inking. They have people who just do outlining. It's
Yeah, that just do that.
specialized kind of position, and you've got to be really good at being confident in the marks that you make. So, no, like it's a real thing. I didn't know it was an actual job until like a few years ago. The fun thing about all these things that we learn in art is that it really can turn into a job.
Yeah.
Still learning things are jobs, even now. Even though I have had a creative career for a long time, I'll be like, oh man, I didn't know that was a job. Huh.
Yeah.
What do you know?
Yep, there's usually a person that does the coloring, the drawing, the inking, and the lettering. Usually there's a different person that does all of those things. Kind of crazy. So when you're a comic book writer, you usually just have the story and you tell the person who's doing the drawing what the character should look like, and then the next person colors it, and the next person inks it, and then the next person letters. So it's like this whole process, and you guys are all of those in one. So it's kind of fun. You get to all of them.
It's like a comic book assembly line, but you guys are learning all the things. You could start your own comic book company.
You could.
I bet the Cannon family would knock out some amazing comic books. They probably have enough material right now to just go straight to the publisher.
Probably. So yeah, you can even make your bubbles 3D too. It's kind of fun to do. So yeah, have fun with this.
Yeah, Carter, that's good. Is that your letter that you just showed us?
Cracker, you're so cute. Okay, so in my comic book story, I know I'm going to want like a wee and a ah and some other like little sound effects, or like maybe like a swoosh or something. So think about like what sound effects you might want in your comic, and maybe start practicing how you want to write those. And the great thing about lettering is it can kind of reflect the sound. Like this clang here is all kind of like sharp angles and boxy, and it kind of reflects that sound. And like this clunk is kind of heavy. Bam. Like this pow. Where is it? This pow right here. It's kind of like a big P and then little letters, and it has all these little stars and lines coming out of it. So yeah, have lots of fun and think about the sound and how it makes you feel, or what it would look like as a person.
Butterfingers are a candy. Butterfingers are a candy. How dare you?
And the nature of your story might affect your lettering too. Since my characters are balloons, I might want to do all balloon letters. Wow, look at that, Madeline. I want to see that again. Look at that, Kristen. Wow, that is so good. You did amazing.
Thank you.
Good. How are you doing, Michaela?
Good.
Good. How about you, Nick? You still doing good? So when you're writing all the dialogue in your comic book, be sure to write all in capital letters and make sure to leave room for your little sound effects on in your comic book picture. And remember to like put little expression lines and movement lines and little stars and things like that. And it will look like a real comic. Okay, guys. So I'm gonna let you work on that. And when you get comfortable, you can go ahead and start adding it to your comic strip. Okay, Madeline?
Okay.
Awesome. And tomorrow we're going to talk more about the cover of our comic book.
I'm excited about the cover.
Yeah.
I want to see what you guys come up with. And just as a reminder, kids, you have to finish all of this by Friday, right? Like, I know where everybody lives. So when it's ready, just have your mom text me and I'll come get it. Like when you feel like it's ready, like even just whenever. Okay.
Yeah. Even if they're not done by Friday, it's fine.
It's fine.
You can give it to us next week sometime or something. If you
I'm
need
super behind these days.
Because writing a whole comic book and doing all the stories and the lettering and the cover, that's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. It's a ton of work. So take your time. You know where to find us. Okay.
What are you going to do with the comic books when you're done?
So we're going to take them. We're going to take them and we're going to print them in a format that's more like an actual comic book. So we're going to take all of your originals and we're going to organize them like a real comic, print them on paper and then bind them like a lot like an actual comic book.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so interesting to see.
Cool.
It wasn't until college that I had to start making copies of my artwork. How different artwork looks when you have a copy of it. So it'll be interesting for you guys to watch the transformation, okay? I think that that's kind of a cool process, so.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
If you guys want to use markers, you can use the ones we gave you. I also might want to use colored pencils, or you can use like watercolors, whatever medium you want. Okay, you don't just have to use the marker. You can use whatever.
Yeah, and if you are, like, if you really look at comic strips and graphic novels and things like that, the artists do use all kinds of things to color in their artwork. So use a medium that you're really comfortable with, that you really like, because it take a while. And if you don't like it, if you don't like the medium, then it's harder to finish because you're like, ugh, I hate this.
And the medium also does kind of define your voice as an artist.
Also true.
So, yeah. Have fun experimenting with that as well. Okay, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Okay, see you all tomorrow. Bye.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, have a good time.